sure that the best introduction that I can give for her to you guys tonight is that this woman is absolutely unforgettable. Okay, so I think that you're really up to learn a lot tonight, and well, please help me welcome Miss Olivia Fernandez Bernabe.
Thank you so much, Sabina. I'm always energized and excited when I see Sabina. Her youth and excitement and wonder is contagious. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Career Crash Course. CCG sponsors a book sharing session every Thursday night, and it's free. It's open to the public, and you can certainly come back every Thursday and bring more friends. And we have different people sharing, but tonight I'm going to talk to you about a book called Make Yourself Unforgettable. You see that in the screen. How to become the person everyone remembers and no one can resist. Oh wow, what a book. So the book is really quite, there's a lot of stuff in the book, and because of time constraints we will not be able to cover everything, of course, but we'll do a good overview of it. And it's written by one of my favorite classic authors, Dale Carnegie. You must be familiar with his famous book, How to Make Friends and Influence People, and many other books that were really, really bestsellers, sought after, and Leadership Mastery, 5 Essential People Skills, on and on and on. And he actually lived a century ago. He was born in the 1800s and he passed on in 1955. And you might be wondering, in this day and age, with the information technology, with the internet and everything that's going around us, are his books still relevant? Well, I realized this. Human beings are the same. The world can change, but inside of us, we're basically the same creature. And everything he teaches is actually classic. It never grows out of style. I've been really impacted by what I learned from this book, and definitely will be able to apply it in my life. And I'd like to start off with some of the slides we've prepared for you this evening. And I'm always excited to share what I learned from books. The question is, have you ever considered your leadership qualities as a class act? Now, you might say, I'm not a leader. I don't know about leadership. I'm just at home. And well, if you're a housewife and you have kids, you're a leader. If you go to an office, you influence people, you're a leader. You own a business, you're a leader. We're practically all influencers one way or the other, and we are all leaders. But do you understand? Have you ever considered that being a leader is also doing classy things, being a class act? Now, what is leadership? I mean, what is a class act? We're going to talk about the qualities that make you unforgettable. And these qualities are called class acts. Now, what is a class act? Let me just read from the book. The book is right here, and this is what I've been doing aside from other books during this lockdown time. I live in Manila, so we're still on lockdown. Class. The unique, unforgettable energy that makes people truly unforgettable. It's easier to recognize than it is to define. We know it when we see it, but what is it? Okay? So we're going to cover that qualities that make us classy. Now, there is nothing more critical to your success than your ability to stand out, right? I think you'll all agree that whether you own a business, whether you work in a corporate life, whether you're part of Toastmasters Club or you're part of the some civic organization, you're leading a foundation or whatever it is, you'd like to stand out. People who stand out become more successful in life. And it doesn't mean that you need to be tall and good looking, but there's something about you that makes you stand out. And there are key qualities that make you stand out and that make you a class act. The book starts with a case study in 1960 with a US presidential debate. This was between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. Now, some of you are millennials, maybe you don't know who they are, but they were actually, that's US history. That was 1960. And it was just quite a story because at that time, Kennedy was unknown. He was very new. He didn't have the experience, the the knowledge, the wisdom of an older presidential candidate who was actually competing with him, Nixon. And they had a debate on TV, and both of them talked very, very well. But there was a difference in their appearance. Okay, that's why people who were just listening to them on the radio, they didn't see the difference because they heard the content of Nixon was really phenomenal and Kennedy was good too, but the difference was in the way they looked. So those who were watching in TV actually saw that Kennedy was very cool, calm, and collected. And not to mention, he's also good looking. And Nixon looked sickly, he was sweaty, and he was nervous. You didn't hear it, but you saw it. And right away, because of this TV presidential debate, that turned around and that actually caused Kennedy to win. And that for you is US history. A simple story of being a class act. Class acts are people with great communication skills who can clearly communicate who they are and what their vision is. For example, President Obama, a very good, classy, great communicator, very authentic person without any walls or any agenda. He's just what a leader should be. And you might say, well, I don't have communication skills. I was never born to be a good communicator. I can't be like these guys who go up on stage and speak and on and on and on. Well, let me tell you this. Communication is a skill and you can learn it. You can learn how to ride a bike. You can learn to play the piano. You can learn to swim. And of course, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very scary. I know that speaking and communicating is one of the scariest things that a human person can ever do. In fact, there's a joke that, people they have the top two fears are the fear of dying and the fear of public speaking. But the real number one fear is the fear of dying when public speaking. So don't worry. You don't have to be cool and collected in the beginning. Just practice and develop those skills because people who can communicate clearly are class acts and they really make a difference. But they also communicate a vision, not just what they did, not just what they are, not those things, but something that they can see. It's called vision. Vision is the ability to see things that ordinary people can't see. And other people get caught up with that vision, which a leader sees. Inspiration. Class acts are not driven to lead others, but to serve them. They have the ability to create success, but for others. They actually have a what I call an other mindset. Their joy is in adding value to other people. I know that's not human nature. That's why people with this kind of mindset have stood out. They've become class acts. You know, I was just reading another book, and in that book, I think they looked at communication on the phone. They looked at the way people are speaking on the phone randomly, and they realized that the number one word that is used when people communicate is the word I. But class acts are people who think of others, not I. And now let's look at some examples of that. People that inspire us. Nelson Mandela. There's a story about Nelson Mandela. Of course, you know, he was a past president of South Africa, and he headed the rights movement, civil rights movement in South Africa. And he was in jail for many years. But here's the story that's very inspiring. There's a story that he was actually eating out in a restaurant with his staff, and across on another table was a man, and he actually invited that man to join them, and nobody knew who that man was. And that man sat beside him. Everybody observed that the man was shaking. He was so nervous. And after the lunch, Nelson Mandela said, of course, he was warm and started conversing, and the man left, and he was so terrified. The man was so terrified. And then everybody asked, who is he? And Nelson Mandela told them who that man was. He was actually the prison guard who humiliated him every day for years. And this was a prison guard who would urinate every morning. And the reason he was shaking was because that person was so afraid that he might get arrested or executed or whatever punishment because of what he did to the leader, Nelson Mandela. And instead, Nelson Mandela showed kindness and just a wonderful heart towards his enemies. What a leader. Another person who serves for others and is such a leader and a super class act to the world is Mother Teresa. She actually left everything behind to work with the poor of India. And one of the class acts she did was, you know, she was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or Nobel Prize for, I don't know exactly what for. And that's, of course, you and I know that's very prestigious to get a Nobel Prize, Nobel Award. And what she did is, I am not accepting that appearing anywhere. Can you just get the money and give the money to the poor? These are leaders that inspire and are totally class acts. Listening is another skill. You can learn it. It can be the most fundamental and powerful communication tool of all. But remember two things, actually a lot of things, but these things stick out. When you listen, don't judge, don't just hear, listen. It's hard to listen. You know why? Because sometimes when you're talking, you're just waiting for that person to finish what he's saying, and you just want to jump in and put in your 10 cents worth. Or sometimes he's talking and you're thinking of what you're going to say and you don't actually listen. You can hear, but you're not listening. You're just waiting to butt in. Part about listening is to remain composed even when your buttons are being pushed. Meaning, perhaps someone is saying something you don't agree about. The most difficult thing is talking about, let's say, politics or talking about moral issues, you know, this very divisive issues. And this person starts talking about things you don't agree, you don't believe, and you know, you just really want to jump in and argue. But listen, not speak. That is a real class act, to be able to compose yourself. Okay? Now, the passionate principle. The book also talks about ethics. Now, today in the high-tech world, relationships and reputation are so important. I think you've heard of the fiasco that happened in Enron, which is an energy company in the US, and WorldCom, which is a telecom company in the US. These were all publicly traded companies. And the fiasco, which became the largest and one of the two largest accounting fiascos in the world was when they manipulated accounting. They inflated the returns, they inflated the incomes of the company so that the stocks would go up and people would invest. And those things don't last very long, because what happened is everything was exposed. And of course, their businesses crumbled. And it was a terrible example about ethics in the world of business in the US. You must have heard of that. But if you invest in establishing a strong, passionate principle and unforgettable identity, well, as a company, as a family, you are a class act. Let me tell you a story. Some of you may have heard of the company called the Amway, or the American Way Amway Corporation. Now, this is actually a company that provides business opportunity to anybody who has a dream, a desire to be in business for themselves without having to invest a lot of money and taking a lot of risks. And what you see there is the 70 plus interconnected buildings, state of the art manufacturing in Ada, Michigan. That's the Amway World Headquarters. And this story that really touched me, because in the picture is a young man called Aris Corpus, and he actually was working in the US, and he decided to visit the world headquarters. You know, there's a visitor lounge there and people get toured around, and he got toured around to look at the visitor lounge. And lo and behold, who comes in, walks by? The president of the company, literally a billionaire, Doug DeVos, president of Amway at that time. And typically, you can't get close billionaires, right? In the Philippines, can you get close to billionaires? No, there's going to be levels of security that's going to stop you. But here's the class act. The host, who was touring around Aris, called Doug. Hey, you know, we have someone from the Philippines who's actually a business owner in the Philippines, and he's just visiting. And Doug actually went to Aris and spoke to him, encouraged him to be in business for himself, encouraged him to be an owner and to dream big for his future. And guess how long he spent talking to Aris, trying to inspire this young man? He spent about 15 solid minutes. Now, you can be anybody, 15 minutes is nothing, but you are a billionaire and a president of a company that is in 110 markets all over the world. How in the world do you give a stranger 15 minutes? Because of principle, because he is a classy person, and because he stands for the values of the company. Class and confidence. The ability to recognize your limitations without becoming preoccupied by them. Of course, we all have limitations. I mean, who's perfect? But if we're always thinking of the limitations, then we're not able to become confident. We don't believe in ourselves because we're always thinking about what our weaknesses are. Okay. Are. Okay. Let me just pause a bit. I think there's someone who's unmuted. Okay, maybe please check your. Okay, I was unmuted for a while. Isn't it? Confidence doesn't mean certainty that you will succeed. It means certainty that you will do your best. It's a feeling that I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be a success. And if it's not going to happen now, well, it's going to happen tomorrow or next week. And I'm on track to making that. It's just a matter of time. I will succeed. And this confidence that a person exudes is actually contagious. It's you stand out in the crowd and people around you catch that confidence. If you're applying for a job, You know what? You attract people to you because of that confidence. And it's not just the way you walk, it's not just the way you look, but it's something about you that, I'm unstoppable. I'm a person with capability. I have my talents. I can learn new skills. And you're somebody who wants to be the best that you can be. That is very attractive. There are key social skills that make you a confident class act. So these are some of the skills. You're relaxed in a social or business setting. So check your body language. There's a lot of books about body language. Here we go again. Listening, very important skill. Listening, listening, listening. That's why the Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, because it's more important to listen. But as we are human beings, we just love to keep talking, okay? Empathy, the ability to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else and experience what they're feeling. Rapport, and you can actually have this rapport, like it's mutual now. You feel what they feel what you feel. And that happens with mirroring. Have you heard of mirroring? When you're talking to someone and they have a certain kind of body language, you mirror it. If they're doing this, you do that. If they're doing this, you do that. And they warm up with you if you have the same body language. And very important to project that you're a confident person is you need to be very good at eye contact. Okay, but be careful you don't stare at somebody for a long period of time. That's a different story. Okay, so patience with a purpose. Here's another quality of class acts. We could never learn to be brave and patient if there were only joy in the world. That's what Helen Keller said. Class acts are patient people. Wow. I don't know, maybe here's what the book says: use your joyless experience as a means to learn patience. Joyless experience. Dear friends, we are in the midst of the most serious, joyless experience that the world has ever seen, maybe in the whole century. We know where we are in the midst of a pandemic. And a class person would actually use this joyless experience, this time in a lockdown with this virus out there. We could use it and see the silver lining, see what opportunities are out there. Okay, maybe it's a time to learn new things, maybe learn how to cook, learn how to garden. Maybe it's a time to touch base with friends on Facebook that you've never really chatted with for years. Maybe it's a time to do things you've never done before, start a new business online. So see what's positive, not just the negative. Challenge yourself to suppress your anger, anxiety, and frustration, because there are times when you're just so impatient and we don't realize that we cannot control the world. There's nothing you can do, but you can control yourself. Well, a very classic example for me is me. I'm very, very impatient in traffic. It's ridiculous because you can't control the traffic, you can't control the accidents that are out there, and yet I get so anxious and frustrated with traffic when I should just adjust my attitude. And sometimes in traffic, with me in the car is my son Ryan. He's also my business partner, and he's the opposite of me. He's always cool, calm, and collected. The traffic doesn't faze him. He doesn't get irritated by it. I just look at him and I'm wondering, wow. Even in a queue, I get impatient in queues. And my son Ryan, he's always cool. It's, chill, yeah? Because you can't make the queue any faster, right? And class acts have that patience. Here's another point: intelligence beyond intellect. We're going to talk about the importance of intuition. It's an inner feeling or flash of insight that brings the optimal solution. Okay, who are these gentlemen? Their names are James Watson and Francis Crick. They discovered what the DNA structure looks like. You know what the DNA structure, the like this with this, before their time, before they discovered it, they were trying so hard to try to envision it in their mind. What does the DNA look like? What does the DNA look like? And they had no answer actually. But one day, or rather one night, one of them had a dream of a snake coiled up. And the following morning he said, I've got it. I've got the idea of what a DNA looks like. And later on, they patterned it after that snake coiled up, and that they were right. That's really what the DNA looks like. But where did this flash of brilliance come from? It's called intuition. But you know what? Whether it's James or Francis who dreamed about it, the book says it wasn't luck. It was something else. It was because they spent a lot of time obsessed with a question. They spent a lot of time researching, studying it. That's why even in their sleep, and that's when the answer came. So it's like, it's not just an accident that they discovered the structure of DNA, but because perhaps God gave it to them because they were so obsessed with finding the answer, and they did the time and the effort. You know, God is like that many times. When you have a goal, you have a dream, and you really fight for it, and you really are focused on it, and you put your heart and soul to it. God says, okay, the heavens is going to open up for you, my child, and I'm going to bless you with success. Here are some tips to unleash your intuition. Use a journal to capture ideas, observations, and perceptions. Write it down so you don't forget. You dream about something, write it down. How did you feel? What are your hunches? Any time of the day. Review your insights. Look back a month ago, a week ago, what happened? Did I really have an insight? Was I right? So this journal is going to be a powerful tool in developing your intuition. Now, who wouldn't want to have the sixth sense, right? Next, classy people who are class acts, have courage. It is the flip side of fear. Courage is the first of human qualities because it guarantees all the others. That's from Winston Churchill. Now, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is actually the ability to act in spite of the fear. Facing your fears. Unforgettable people master the fear of failure, but others are incapacitated by it. There is no failure, only feedback. Successful people see mistakes as outcomes or results. Unsuccessful people look at mistakes as permanent and personal. They personalize their mistakes. They feel bad about their mistakes. But class acts make their stumbling blocks stepping stones. Look at the story of Thomas Edison. He was one of America's greatest inventors. He invented so many things, including the light bulb. And the story goes, he actually failed with the light bulb experiment like thousands of times. And that would be really embarrassing if you were trying to do an experiment and you would fail thousands of times. And they asked him, why are you so persevering? Why? Well, he said, I didn't see it as failure. I saw it as a learning experience. I discovered something that doesn't work. And you see, the perception is different when you are facing failure. Are you going to be a class act, or are you going to get incapacitated by it? And John Maxwell, I'd like to quote from memory, he said that the difference between successful people and unsuccessful is their perception of and their reaction to failure. Failure is only feedback. Connected to that is discouragement. Okay, are you affected by discouragement, or are you encouraging, or are you an encouraging person? Are you giving yourself encouragement? courage and fear are habit forming. There's a story I heard before about the devil. The devil actually set up store. This is not in the book. It's just something I heard about, I read about. And the devil actually opened his store and decided to sell his tools that he used against humankind. And so all things were there, like perhaps the seven deadly sins. Like there was greed, there was a tool for greed, there was a tool for envy, there was a tool for wrath, and all the tools were there for sale because the devil wanted to show them off. That was what he used to create sin in the world. And there was a tool that was. I'm sorry about that. This is a live thing. This is not recorded. I'm speaking live. So I was talking about the most dangerous tool which the devil owns. And he said that tool, I hope you got the story. I got cut. That tool is called discouragement. Okay. The most dangerous tool. So if you actually feel discouraged, class acts are going to act against this discouragement and not allow it to take over. Money and class. Okay, we're going to a different topic here now. Actually, the book has a lot of subjects about different aspects of making yourself a class act. Money and class. Money can be as much an obstacle to class as it can be an entryway. So it's your choice. If you look at, well, what is money? Money is a piece of paper. And the only reason why it's important is because it can buy things, right? Okay. And we know money is important. I mean, you go to the hospital, you need money. Your kids enroll in school, you need money. You want to buy a home, you need money. You want to buy a car, you need money. But what is your relationship with money? If you're obsessed with money, if your life revolves around generating money, if there's greed in your heart that I'd like money, 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 then it is an obstacle. But money can be put to good use. We're going to talk about that. Money can be used to give comfort to your children, the family that you love. Money can be used to help people who are sick. Money can be donated to a charity. Money can be given to a foundation. And money can help a lot of people, especially given the situation we are today. And the book talks about a lot of things about money, but I can't go over that. Just some of the relevant points. Keep your personal finances from collapsing during economic downturns. There's a section of this chapter that talks about economic downturns. And I decided to focus on this because we are in a major economic downturn, are we not? So you've got to think about your personal finances that you're not going to run out, because a classy person is comfortable with the money, and a classy person is not obsessed with making money. But a classy person is also not a needy person who misused money. He talks about pushing back from the table without starving yourself to death. What does that mean? Well, maybe before you had all the resources to do a lot of things, to buy a lot of things. And what you do is just try to make a list of things that you absolutely need and things that you don't need. Do you really need the manicure? Now, some of you have very expensive manicures because it's not just a manicure. You have this fancy things and this gel polish and all. Do you really need that? Do you really need a pedicure? Do you really need to trim your hair every 30 days? Well, now the salons are open. Do you need to order out, or can you cook at home? So try to make a list and try to find out where you can cut costs. Be intentional, be deliberate, because that's what we do in times of economic downturn. Invest in yourself. Learning doesn't stop after college. This is the time. You know why? Because during this time, if you want to stand out, because people are all competing for careers and or jobs, okay? And the people who are learned, the people who have confidence, the people who keep on developing themselves, they're going to stand out. So invest in yourself and start to continue to learn, okay? So how does that happen? Number one, perhaps, is to read. And it's not a perhaps, it's absolutely essential. Do you know that a regular size book, just as the one I'm sharing, which is Make Yourself Unforgettable, if you can finish this in a week and you can read 50 books in a year, given 2 weeks is a rest. And to read this in a week, you need to read 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night. Hey, we're in a lockdown. You know what? 50 books is the equivalent of a college education. Wow. You don't need the expensive MBA. You don't need to go out and spend for education. Reading alone can expand your mind to new dimensions. You know, all the wisdom in the world are found in books. And so all we need to do is read. And that's why in CCG, we believe in personal development and we have a community that actually believes in reading. We're not voracious readers, we're not intellectuals. We just want to get the wisdom and transfer it to our brains so we can always become better. We can become the best that we can be. So, reading is important. And that's the reason why I'd like to invite you every Thursday to our Career Crash Course book. Every week we have a new book. And ask yourself these questions as you talk about money. Oh, other things the book talks about, which I didn't have slides, is attend events, attend learning events, especially learning events. We're going to talk to you about some learning events that we have in CCG. Start to do new things. Start a business. Start something new. Be bold. Be courageous. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Meet people. That's very important. These are things that the book talks about. But of course, now we can't meet people, but we can make friends and we can meet people in our social Zoom events, in whatever reunion or parties, and just start connecting with people. And so there are many things that we can do to make ourselves and our time productive during this economic downturns, and even worse is lockdown. On the money issue, because we're talking about class and money, ask yourself, where do you ultimately want to be in financial terms? Okay, what is your financial goal? I might sound like a financial planner here. I'm not, but it kind of makes sense. Like, I'm going to stop working at this age. I need this kind of money. I need some kind of passive income, even to help me secure my future. what are the financial goals that you want? Sit down and try to determine that. And then, how much time do you have to get where you want to be? Do I have like 20 years? I'm retiring in 5 years, so I've got to get a new financial plan going. And, maybe I need to start now. So, how much time do you have? Another thing is, where are you now in your financial life? So, it's not just where you're going, but where are you now? Have it planned out. Okay, so try to determine what is your net worth? Okay. What do you own? Everything you own minus everything you owe, your debt. That's your net worth. And then where would you like to be in 5 years, 10 years? So give yourself a direction. And the most critical part is ask yourself, what financial vehicle will make you meet your goals in the time available? You see, if you live in Manila and you want your destination is Baguio, your financial vehicle can be a car. But if you live in Manila and your financial goal is San Francisco, North America, no matter how beautiful your car is and how expensive your car is, it doesn't have the capability to fly in the air or float in the water. So you've got to change your vehicle. So I'm asking you, and ask yourself, what financial vehicle have you got? And if you don't have an answer, the book says go out, find one, ask questions, research. Don't give in to knee jerk negativity that you have a tendency to right away say, oh, come on, that's not going to work. Oh, I've heard that before. The book talks about that. Just look at things, study things, get information, and make an intelligent evaluation of what vehicle is available for you. Now, do you have a legacy goal? This is being a class act as far as money is concerned. How much money do you want to leave your children without destroying their lives? Well, that's because if you give everything your children, some people believe it will remove from them the work ethic, the struggle, which makes them strong. Okay, so but it's up to you. You might want to, you might not to. See, Warren Buffett actually was a person who didn't want to leave. He just wanted the bare minimum for his children. Everything else he donated because he felt that too much. Okay. So if you have, and you have a lot of you'd like to leave behind something for your children, hey, that's a legacy for them. You'd like to set up a foundation for street kids. You'd like to help people who are sick with cancer. You'd like to help whatever cause you believe in, and you want to leave your money for that. That's your legacy. Okay, it's totally up to you, but your legacy will make you unforgettable because it is something that will outlive you. And perhaps even if you're gone, your legacy, and I'm talking about an asset legacy, a business legacy, or a cash legacy, the people who benefit from it will actually remember you for generations to come after you. And that is an exciting thought. Well, I've come to the end of my sharing. I'd like to talk more, but the Zoom meetings can be really draggy if there's too much information. And right now, we're going to have a breakout room. Do not leave yet. But here's my question for your group discussion, something you're going to ponder. And during the sharing, just take 1 or 2 sentences to share so that the others have a chance as well. And I'm not forcing everybody to share during the breakout group. If you're shy, you just want to listen, hey, you don't have to share. And we encourage you, though, to unmute yourself, to show yourself in the video. And if you don't want to speak up, you're very welcome to just chat your answer. So for discussion, describe an instance in your life when you did a class act. Did you help somebody in need? Did you pick up a wallet filled with money and returned it? Okay. Did you offer a ride to somebody, as a stranger? Did you walk up on stage and deliver the speech despite your shaking feet? I don't know. But that's the question for discussion. And right now, before we go into the breakout room, we've got some very important announcements on other events of Syzygy. But I'd like to forward you back to our MC, Sabina. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that, Olive. Very great presentation for tonight. I especially love that about class and confidence, the ability to recognize your limitations and but not be preoccupied by them, and learned a lot. I have a few notes here, and I think that everyone did as well. So yeah, we are seeing comments about thank yous for you, and yes, okay. So we invite you for our 8 p.m. habit almost every day, and tomorrow we will be having bouncing forward opportunities in the new normal, and this is very related to our the second half of our session for tonight now. And in Syzygy, I mentioned that we believe in being healthy, wealthy, and wise. So three-part yan, no? So tomorrow is the wealth part, okay? So there will be learning about what we learned tonight can be applied in e-commerce, no? And our speaker will be no other than Ryan Fernandez, the son of our speaker tonight and co-founder as well of Syzygy PH. Okay, so we also have other events for the following days. And are we going to show the slides? Or do we head to our breakout session now? You still remember the question for reflection. Okay, I think that's it for our session tonight. And again, my name is Sabina, your host. And yeah, have a good night, everyone. See you in our breakout sessions.
Hey, Jono. Yeah. Okay, sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We're going to transfer you shortly. Just give me some time. We also have some people here whom I don't know whose room you belong to. So we're going to find out. Please accept the invitation. Okay. So almost everyone
Ako din, ang haba na ng buhok. Pero dami ko ng white hair. Congratulations, Sabina!